Hello, this is Charles Winfield. I'm back for Module 4 Backend Development, Express JavaScript using Node.js and Express to create server-side app and create API endpoints. The goal and requirements of this module are to install Node.js, install Express.js, create and input data into a server named app.js, create API endpoints that can be accessed by GET and POST requests, and also to provide definitions and purpose for Node.js and Express.
All right, we're here in Visual Studio Code. We're going to go over the code, the endpoints, and some of the deliverables. This right now we're in the app.js file. Just a quick breakdown of the files. This is the app.js file. This is where uh, the server side information is held, where we invoke Node.js as well as Express JavaScript. Then we have the agents JSON file. And this is where I store the information about the tiers in one object and then the agents in another object. Here we got the name, email address, region, rating, and fees. And then we have the calculate JS files. And this is where the information is done to validate the files for or validate the inputs for calculating the inputs and for this file. Okay, so let's get started here. Right now we're in the app.js file. Basically, uh, this line of code right here it invokes the .env file, and what this is where we house sensitive information. An env file basically is where information is stored that you don't want the user to access about the server. So you keep API credentials, username, passwords, sensitive information, API requests, ports. So basically here we got the port is 3000 and the environment is development. All right, and then we have our code here. So we've got some variables. Basically, these requires this invoke different functionality. Here, the variable express brings in the express JavaScript. FS is for file operations, and then path. Here's a variable for the calculate residential handler, and basically it just goes into the calculate.js file, um, which is here. That's what this file path is. All right, and then we assign variables to port and environment. So here I have an OR logical operator set up. So this is process.env.port or 3000. So same thing with environment. This is just to return things in the browser, but it does not give the information. The information is actually housed here in the .env file. All right, and then we have the function to load express JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. All right, so here is one of the first endpoints. It's not the first on the list, but I just put it up here. We've got the post method for the app here. Calculate residential is the endpoint. So what you see here, and then we also call the function with this when this endpoint is selected to calculate residential handler, which is housed in this file, and this is the function. So basically this function validates that the number is an integer greater than 0 and is a number, and then we make sure that they're whole numbers, and then we have standard, premium, and excellium for the tier types. So it validates to make sure it's one of those three, and then we return when the information is input and is correct. it will return inputs are valid, the tier type, and then the unit price and the number. And I also added functionality in here to make sure that it returns as an integer, and that's housed down here. And the region average, which is where we call this function here. We make sure that it is returned in US dollars. Where is it here? So we'll come back to that. I don't see it right offhand, but anyway, so the next one is the status endpoint. Basically, this is a GET request with the status endpoint. Just a simple error function. When it's working, it will say server is running on port and the environment, and that's these two variables up here. So 3000 in development. That's what these are. The app.get. This is just to say Express is working. So that's just to test the endpoint and show that it's working. We have the hello endpoint, and then we have this returning to the console log, and ultimately just to let you know that the endpoint is working. The client requested a hello world, so that's what was here to send this message back to the endpoint in the browser. And if we have an error endpoint here, basically this shows error status, something went wrong, and bad request. And then we have an email list here, and basically what this does, we have some functionality here, but it's done to go through the agents file and pull out email addresses and return those in a delimited list. So it'll go through the file here. It'll read the file, and then it'll return. If it could not read the agents, it'll say that. But when it works, it will show the agent email and just create a list of those. All right, and then for the region average, we have some additional functionality here. So basically, this is to take the average of the average rating fee, or the average fee and the average rating for different regions, and it basically just creates a filter of those based on north, south, west, and east. There was no west in the file, so we have an error message for that. It'll say no agents were found in the supply region, and this is the functionality used to calculate the average fee and also calculate the rating, and then it'll return the average fee in a dollar amount here in US currency, and then it'll return the average rating as a number, as an integer. All right, and then the contact us endpoint, when the user puts in information in the contact form, we want it to be able to store that information. So right now we just use first name, last name, and message as the requirement. If those aren't filled out, it will shoot this error message. If it is received, then we'll say message received and go from there. And basically, this is when the server is running, it'll say, we'll log this. As you can see down here, server is listening on port 3000 in development mode. That's what this code handles. So just real quick to go over the endpoints again. Here we have hello world, and I'm going to go ahead and just run through these and show you how they work in the browser. So hello world, and basically this is the HTTP request on our local host which is our local server on port 3000, and the endpoint is hello. So if we go over here and we bring up the browser, and as you can see here, I'm just going to go ahead and pop this code in there. And there we go. Hello world. So it is working and should also return functionality back to the uh, terminal. And yes, we did get the message down here. Get request, hello endpoint was called. The porting use is 3000. So that function is working. The next thing we're going to do, check here, is the status. And we're going to go ahead and bring up the status real quick in the browser. All right, message, server is running on port 3000 in development mode. So that endpoint is working. And the next one we're going to bring up here is error, the error message. And that's going to be, we're going to bring that up in the browser. Okay, so this is the error message. Error, bad request, message, something went wrong. All right, so that one is working. All right, and then next up, we're going to bring up the email list, and it should be returning back the value here. Give me just 1 second. All right, and so this is the list of emails that are housed in the agents.json file. So basically that code just went through and pulled out only the email addresses. All right, so our next thing that we're going to check here is the region average. And this is accepting a query parameter. So basically you have to add some additional, not code, but text in there. So that is done by a question mark. And then we want region equals north in this case. So in north, the average fee is $7,386.83 with an average rating of 84.83. So it returns back in US dollars, and then we could do south. All right, and here's the average fee, average rating, and then we can also do east. All right, and then we can finally do west, and this should return an error message. And yes, no agents were found in the supplied region west. So there you go. That's the region average endpoint. And next up, we're going to do the post request. And the first one we're going to do is the calculate residential. And we're going to use the postman to bring that back. Give me just a second. I'll get that set up there. All right. So postman. All right. So we want a new request. It's going to be HTTP. All right. And then so we want to change this to post. Add in that, and then we can add in our parameters here. What we're looking for is in the body we want raw and JSON, which you see here. Let me get the parameters, or the input fields, I'm sorry. And we're just going to test a few of these to make sure it's working. So these are valid parameters, and we send that off. Yes. Okay. So boom, message inputs are valid. Tier standard unit price is 8,000 with the fee of 10%. All right, and then we'll test an invalid input and see what that returns. Okay. So yes, it returns the error message here: invalid input. Number of floors, number of apartments must be positive integers. Tier type must be standard, premium, or excellium. As you can see here, we have gold, so that's why it just shoots out a general error message. All right, so that's taking care of that. Our next thing is going to be the contact us post request. So we're going to go ahead and submit that request. All right, and then we're going to go contact us, and then in the body we want raw, then JSON, and then we want to add this in there. Okay, message was received from Sarah Johnson, and can you provide a quote for a 20-floor residential building? That was the first name, last name, and message, and yes, it did return correct. Now we're going to check an invalid input and see what that returns. All right. So as you can see here, it posts an error message, missing required fields, first name, last name, and message. So that's pretty much it for the request. Everything is up and running as it is supposed to. And we'll go back into.
All right, so that concludes Module 4. My takeaways and conclusion. We learned how to create a local server with Node.js and Express.js. Learn how to use Express.js and Node.js to create endpoints, file protocol for server-side applications. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.